Hey guys, welcome to Enneanerds. This is Bethany. I'm a type 5.
And this is Grace. I'm an Enneagram type 7. And here at Enneanerds, we like to look at the Enneagram with kind of a fun and quirky kind of view. So I hope that you enjoy this episode.
And we have a little bit of a treat today, a little different of an idea that, Grace and I have bounced back and forth a couple of times, and we're calling it generational Enneagram. And so we want to talk to two types that are the same type, but of various ages. So Grace, I'll let you introduce our guests today since they are part of your realm.
Yeah. So first off, sitting next to me is my lovely husband, Brandon, who has been on the podcast once or twice before. So if you are a loyal Enneanerds fan, you will know him. Brandon, can you tell everyone your type and your favorite kind of insect?
Well, I am a Enneagram type 9, and I think my wing is 8. I'm really not 100% sure on that, actually, but I'm pretty sure it's wing 8. Yeah, anyway. And I like all insects.
What a cop-out. What a 9 answer. All right. And then the other lovely person is my mother. Wow. All the way in Alabama. So we are in 3 corners of the country for this episode. So my mother, I will let her say her name. And so mother, can you say your name and your type and tell me your favorite type of shoe to wear?
Oh my goodness. Okay. My name is Mary Dawson. I am Grace's mom, and I am a 9 wing 1. And my favorite shoe to wear is a flip-flop.
Really? Wow. I was expecting you to say flip-flop. It's interesting. Okay, so go ahead, Grace.
Oh no, we just had a technical difficulty. So
oh wow, y'all are supposed to be the techie ones.
Yeah, music started playing randomly, and so we were like, "Where's that come from?"
Okay, so I'm gonna jump to the questions here. Basically, the goal of the episode is try to figure out, does age impact a type? We have 2 9s here, and I'm curious if age impacts the type. So, and we don't have to. I mean, Brandon, how old are you?
28, almost 29.
Almost 29. Okay. And Mary, we don't have to say your age if we don't.
I don't mind. I am 66.
Okay. So there is quite a life experience there that Mary has that Brandon doesn't quite have yet. He's a baby still very young. So so we already answered my first question. My first question was, what's your type and wing? We do have 2 different wings here. We have wing 1 and wing 8. So that's going to add some different flavors to the answers for sure. But because we have 2 different wings, I'm curious, how much do you feel that your wing influences you? And Mary, I want to start with you.
Okay. I do think that my wing 1 definitely influences me. I definitely do have that inner critic that they talk about with the 1. And I definitely have perfectionistic tendencies that can be good and can be bad. And then also, because of how the 9 does have trouble with decision making, I do think, though, that when it comes to my core values and my core beliefs, I have a very strong sense of right and wrong. And so I don't have any trouble with decision making when it comes to just my basic beliefs that influence my values in life.
Okay, so yeah, 9s, if you're new to 9s, they typically do have a really hard time making decisions. And so I find it interesting that your 1 helps you make those decisions for sure, especially if it's a moral compass kind of issue. So
yes.
that's really interesting to me. Okay, Brandon, how does your wing influence you?
For those that know me, I'm very go with the flow most of the time. But there are certain things that I can not be go with the flow about. primarily, I guess, probably thinking about like either work or fantasy football. When I play fantasy football, it brings out my wing 8. 'Cause I don't know, but
if he had as much passion in the rest of his life as he has for fantasy football, wow, life would be so passionate.
You know, we each have our stuff that we like.
So the 8 wing. So you don't have any part of the 1. Like you don't feel like you have any part of the 1 with you.
I don't know.
You're pretty
Probably
detailed, I would say.
Yeah, I also can be like kind of a perfectionist in some areas.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Okay.
But there's also a lot of areas I'm just like, oh, whatever. So I don't know.
Okay. And Mary, you don't feel like you have any part of the 8 in you, or is it like a little bit there?
I don't think I have very much at all. Every once in a while, one of my daughters will say, for instance, I love to pay in cash. And if I go somewhere and they tell me I can't pay in cash, I just challenge them and I just do my best to pay in cash because that's what I want to do. And then I think it might have been Melody that said, there's your wing 8, or it might have been Grace. I don't know. But anyway, so I guess it pops out, but it's not very strong.
Okay.
So that is the big thing
Go ahead,
with
Brady.
8s, right? Is they like the challenge.
Yeah.
Because I think that, like, just going back to my fantasy football example, is I have so much fun arguing with people over fantasy football. And, like, I get, like, in heated arguments on my fantasy football apps, and they're mostly my friends. And so, like, at the end of it, I'm like, that was so much fun. Let's do it tomorrow. They're probably, like, really mad, but I'm like, this is great. They're challenging me back. It's fantasy football. This is fun.
But you don't enjoy challenges in just like other instances.
No, not really. I don't know.
Okay. So just fantasy football. Okay.
Just
I'm learning
something
so much about you.
when I know that I am right, then
he likes to challenge me.
That's not true.
It is.
So maybe in like a safe space, you like to challenge.
Mm-hmm.
When I feel confident in what I'm talking about, I guess.
Okay. All right. Very interesting. I'm learning so much about both of you. Okay. So my next question is, how old were you when you discovered the Enneagram, and did it reveal any major epiphanies for you right away? I'm going to start with Brandon this time.
I guess I was 23 or 24 whenever y'all introduced me to the Enneagram. I don't know.
Force it upon you, yes.
Yeah, it was you and me, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
The main thing I think about with that question is, I don't know, I always thought those personality tests were all hogwash, and so when I heard about the Enneagram, I was like, wow, this is like not just a whole bunch of general stuff that they throw together and try to make someone feel special, because I feel like that's what the other ones are. Okay. And so I felt like it was actually fairly accurate for, and it's not going to be exact, but, it's like, wow, this kind of resonates with me. And then you can be like, wow, that's the way I think this way, and that's the way this person thinks this way. And anyway, can kind of give you perspective and understanding and help you to try to better yourself or not be so harsh on other people.
Ooh, I love that. Okay, Mary, your turn.
Okay, I think I was about 60. So I'm 66 now. And it was through my daughters, both of them, that they got interested in the Enneagram. And so I took a test to find out that I was a 9. And I did have an immediate epiphany. And that is that all of my life, I had struggled with myself. I have always had a hard time making decisions. And I feel frustrated. I've always felt like that was a big weakness. And I also married into a family, a wonderful family, but a high energy family, hardworking family. And so I always pushed myself so hard to keep up with all the good things that they were doing. but I always had this lack of energy, and I just always saw that as a weakness. But then when I found out what a 9 was, I thought, oh my goodness, there is a reason for why I don't have a favorite color. I like all of them. I don't know what my favorite food is. I like everything. I don't know what my favorite Bible verse is. I like the whole Bible, and I just always thought that I was very weak. And then I realized that it was because I can see all perspectives. And that maybe is a strength, not a weakness, and it just really changed the way I thought of myself. And then even being in my wonderful in-law family that are so energetic, and I always had a lack of energy, I just realized that's part of being a 9, and that's okay. And I'm actually proud that I've been able to keep up with them. It really, really, really helped me to see how God had made me, and that it was really okay. And then it helps me to kind of think, okay, now since it's hard for me to make decisions, then let's calm down and actually make a decision. It just really helped me to understand myself and accept myself in so many ways.
Wow. I could listen to you talk like all day.
Can I just say something really quick? So when Brandon and I first got married, and I was still like learning how everything worked, and I already knew he was a 9 at that point, and I knew my mom was a 9. But Bethany, we've talked about this a lot, because 9s can see all the perspectives. There's a lot of people that mistype as 9s at first, and then they realize down the road, like, oh wait, I'm not a 9. Well, that is not the case for my mom and for Brandon. They are as 9 as 9s could be. Very much, different wings, but they are both very, very 9. And so once I put that together, once we were married, and thinking back onto my childhood and looking at, different experiences that I had with my mom, that helped me so much to understand him and how he works, and being married to him, and arguments with him, and good times, like all the things, because it was so nice to have, because I could think back to like, oh, my mom, that's how she handled this type of a situation. And now I see Brandon handling it similarly. And so that really helped me. So that's all that I want to say. Oh,
well, it was more perspective, honestly. The Enneagram is giving you more perspective on them. So I love that. Back to like the not having a favorite color thing. You're not the only 9 that's told me that. Like there's been other 9s that have said, I don't have favorites. I can't choose. I like them all. So I feel like that's almost like a trademark, because Brandon, you couldn't even pick a favorite insect earlier. So like to me, it seems like it's kind of the hallmark of a 9. They don't have favorites, guys. It's okay.
I don't know what I like. Grace likes certain things, and I'll find myself starting to like those things. Grace doesn't like peanut butter, and like I'll trick myself into thinking I don't like peanut butter. I'm like, wait a minute, I like peanut butter. It's Grace that doesn't like peanut butter.
That's so funny. And that goes back to like the morphing that 9s do, where they morph to whomever they're with, because it's easier to morph than to make their own decision. So it's fine. It's good. As long as you're aware of it, I think it's fine. So my next question, 9s are in the anger triad, and most 9s, they do not come across as angry people at all, but it is the underlying emotion there for 9s. So I'm very curious, how does anger show up for you in your day to day? I'm gonna start with Mary.
Okay. I think part of this goes with age, is that I am really a pretty chill person, and I don't anger easily. But I do have anger, but I stuff it down inside. It's kind of like a smoldering anger. And in the past, and I could potentially still do this, but I did this in the past, and Grace will remember this, is that I would like let things smolder for a very long time, and then I would explode. And so, yeah, and so Grace will remember that growing
me.
No, ha ha ha. She just, yeah, anyways. No. But anyways.
That never happened, Grace.
Well, I think it probably bothered her to the point that that's what she remembers, But anyways, but all three of my children would remember because I was a homeschool mom. I homeschooled them for a total of 19 years. So like we were really together. And on a day-to-day basis, I didn't get angry. I think you would agree with that, Grace. But then there were the
But then
occasional.
you would have the like, oh my gosh, Grace, I'm calling the school. You're going to public school starting tomorrow. That whole explosion.
Yeah, that did happen some, yes. But anyways, but yeah, it's because of the smoldering thing. And so now I would say that, of course, we have to realize that back in those days, I had no idea what the Enneagram was, and I didn't know what a 9 was. And now that I do know these things, I am able to recognize what is going on inside. Like, hey, I'm feeling angry. I need to deal with this. I shouldn't let this build up like I used to. So,
Okay,
that's my answer.
That's a wonderful answer. Like, I don't know. You're so eloquent when you speak. I just get lost in what you're saying. All right, Brandon, you're eloquent too. Go ahead.
I'm so eloquent. Yeah. So no, I have a very similar experience with anger. Mostly when I was a child, or even like through high school, in a couple instances, like I am so chill, like all the time, and then eventually you just like don't even know what you're doing and you explode for sure. Like it's almost like you just black out and explode. And it happened a lot when I was like young, like a child, but it hasn't happened in a very long time. But anyway, now I'm just like super stubborn, and I'll just stop talking to you if you anger me.
Good to know.
But anyway, where was I going with that? I don't know. There's a few instances where I would just like, I don't know, playing football in the front yard and just someone get angry and kick the football down the street and go to my room and sit there for like 7 hours until it was bedtime. But like 90%, 98% of the time I was fine. But yeah, day-to-day life, I wouldn't say like, I don't know how anger really, I don't know. I'm not a super angry person.
Yeah, he doesn't like explode or anything like that anymore. I feel like back to like the safe space thing, I think I'm your safe space. So if something, at school or work or wherever, if something bothers him, he will come home and like vent to me. And sometimes he'll get more angry than I would think that he should. But I think it's the same thing. Like something's probably been like a repeated offense for him. So he's been boiling it down, and then he kind of like lets it all out to me, but he doesn't like, throw chairs or punch walls or.
I'm curious. So, Brandon, so you said when you were younger, you felt more of that anger, explosive anger. They say that when we are younger, we're more of our true selves, our true numbers, because we don't know how to react any other way. We haven't been like taught that yet. So, Mary, did you also have that like kind of more anger when you were younger?
I probably did. Another thing when I was younger that I really did with my anger is that I would hold grudges against people. But I had a very wise friend, and this really didn't have anything to do with the Enneagram, but a wise friend who confronted me on that and explained to me that holding a grudge was a sin. And she really cured me from that, because I didn't realize that. I thought when you're holding a grudge, you think like, I've been wronged, I'm in the right. And then to find out, oh, guess what? I'm not in the right. I'm holding a grudge. That's a sin. And so, but yes, as a younger person, not understanding a 9 or anything, I did have trouble with grudges, and then with that exploding once in a while. So yes, I would say I did have more trouble with anger.
Okay. That's interesting, because Grace, you've said that like you're a very fearful child. I was an extremely fearful child. And so I think it just goes to show that like when we're kids, we just are just our true selves, and we just don't know any better. And so, I don't know, I always encourage people when thinking about the Enneagram, think about your childhood, because that is the most true you that you've ever been, most likely is when you were a child. So just for our listeners out there. Okay. So 9s are in what's called the positive outlook group, and I'm just going to explain what that means. Typically, nines have a very positive attitude when faced with disappointment and will choose to focus on the positive qualities of others and their environment to avoid problems, giving people the benefit of the doubt, like just over and over kind of thing. Does that ring true for you guys? How does that play out for you? Brandon?
Yeah, I definitely am more of a positive thinking, you know, it's all going to be all right. It's okay. Like, whatever, we'll figure it out type of thing. And what was the rest of it?
No, just saying, like, how does that, I guess, does it ring true for you? Yes. And then how does that play out for you? Like, if you just continue to just see the positive, is there maybe a negative side to that?
I don't think so.
Of course.
I guess there could be, but like, I don't know. I think having grace it helps out with that, because I'll just be like, oh, it'll all work out, and then I won't like do anything about it. Where she's like, no, like we need to do this, and this. Like we need to figure it out. I'm like, okay, well let's figure it out then, I guess. But I'm like, oh, it'll take care of itself. It's fine. But which never really let me down in life. So I mean, I guess it's fine. But maybe being prepared is better.
Okay. Mary, what are your thoughts on the positive outlook thing?
Okay, yeah, I think I definitely am like that. I had not thought of that so much until you sent me a few little notes about this, and I thought that is really true. I think in my life, one way that helped me a lot was after I had been married for some years, my husband decided that his heart's desire was to go into the military. And so we became a military family. And that was a surprise to me. I didn't foresee that, my life being like that and moving around and having to restart and raise a family like that. And I think that positive outlook, really helped me be able to do that. And I think inside that, whenever things change, circumstances change, I just sort of have this little inner voice that just says, just adjust. And, and I just had it last week because my house got struck by lightning last week. And, and it changed. Thankfully, my house, didn't catch on fire, but like it changed my whole week. It changed everything I had to do. My plans all changed instantly when that happened. But again, it was just like, adjust. You just have to change what you're doing. Now you have to call 800 people and talk about estimates and all that kind, get workmen in here and all this kind of stuff. But that is kind of what happens is I just, my mind just says to me, adjust, change what you're doing, get it, change what you're thinking about. Your days aren't going to be the same. That's okay. Adjust. So.
Very, very interesting. Grace, your sevens are also in the positive outlook group. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
I think I definitely agree with everything that they said. I think Brandon was already kind of alluding to this, but I think for me, I do kind of swing into like my wing 6 where I want to be prepared. And so like my mom, she could swing into her wing 1 to help with her preparedness. But like for me, yes, I am, for the most part, I do look at things glass half full, and I want to think the best of people, and I want it to be all fun, but I also have that fear of what if it's not okay, or what if I'm not ready for this. So I think for me, that wing 6 really serves that purpose for me.
That's good. I like to be prepared. So, and I'm not in the positive outlet group. I'm in a totally different group. And so to have like the mindset of it just being positive, that eludes me. And so it's just interesting. Anyways. Okay. So next question. 9s are also in the withdrawn stance. And that means that they tend to move away from people. And they look for places that are going to bring them peace, and they move away from conflict. And so they withdraw into themselves to deal with whatever they need to deal with and to find their peace. So Mary, do you agree that this is how you operate? And if you do, like, what does that look like for you when you withdraw?
Okay. Actually, I have thought this through. I don't know if other nines are like this or not. And I think I could go different ways with this question. But when it comes to something like conflict, I don't like conflict, and I will probably lose sleep over it. But I think that whole thing with being a 9 and wanting peace actually draws me to some conflict, because I will overcome my desire to not have conflict, because I don't believe you can have peace if you hold everything in. If two people are at odds with each other or whatever, and they don't talk about it and get it out and be honest and authentic with each other, then there's no peace. And so even though I don't like conflict, I face conflict. And I do think I've always been like that. So I don't know whether that is, that makes me a little different than other 9s, or I don't know, maybe that could be a little bit of the 8 wing possibly, but I don't really pull away when I want the peace so bad, I will face conflict for it. So I don't know if that answered it, but there you have it.
Okay, so yeah, you're basically saying that no, you don't really withdraw because you want the peace so bad, and it's not true peace if there's conflict going on. Okay. All right, Brandon, your turn.
Yeah, and I think that makes a lot of sense, and I could kind of see myself doing the same thing in a way, but it has to be like with someone that it's worth the energy, I guess. Because if it's like someone that it's like too much energy to put toward, then I'm just like, whatever.
So you would draw.
See you next life. But I was gonna say, what was I gonna say? I had a thought, but it's gone.
Well, I'll say something while you think, if you don't mind. Yeah. I think what they're both saying, I think it's a sign of a really healthy 9. If you're able to, because I think everyone in the whole world will agree that avoiding conflict is not necessarily the best, most mature thing. It's very natural for many people beyond Enneagram 9s, but like in life, you're going to have conflict. And so completely like cutting people off and like avoiding it because you don't want to deal with it, it's not necessarily the most mature thing. And so every person really has to get to the mature point, like my mom was saying, where like it's okay to have conflict as long as, it brings peace to you or whatever. So I think a healthy 9 probably would share that sentiment. And it might be a really unhealthy 9 who avoids conflict because they're afraid of it or something like that.
Yeah, I think what I was gonna say is, I think the big avoiding conflict thing is like, I'm not gonna start any conflict. Like, if there's something that's bothering me or like I can feel some tension, I'm just gonna ignore it. But if there already is conflict or like someone's upset at me for something, that feels different to me, and it's like there is conflict and it needs to be fixed or addressed. But if it's like creating conflict, like I'm gonna do everything in my power to not create any conflict.
Yeah.
So
and I agree with Brandon on that.
I don't create the conflict. Yeah.
And I agree with Brandon about about the amount of energy that it takes. Like, I don't go around life creating conflict with all kinds of people. It is more like my close relationships that it's so important to have that peace in my marriage or with my children or, maybe really close friends. Those are the kind of people that I would go into conflict with in order to bring peace. But yeah, if just somebody that is an acquaintance says something kind of, that hurts my feelings, or whatever, I'll just let that go. Yeah, I
Or
definitely
if
would
there's
not.
someone who won't let you pay in cash.
That's right. Yeah, that makes it totally worth it. Right.
Okay. Well, that's very interesting. Not what I thought y'all were going to say at all. So, very interesting. Okay. Do you think your age influences your nineness?
Well, I just think probably over the years with, a lifetime of experiences and working through things and having a relationship with the Lord and all that, I think that I have grown, and I think I probably grew and changed through some of these things that were 9 kind of issues, but I didn't even know that until I was older because I didn't know what it was. But yeah, I feel like I hope that maybe I'm a healthier version of a 9 than I was when I was 35 or 45. I would hope. I like to think that people that spend their life walking with the Lord in an authentic fashion, that as they get older, they mellow, and become a healthier version. So I guess I hope maybe I've become that way in my old age now.
Okay. Brandon, thoughts? You haven't had as much life experience as Mary has, so I'm just curious.
That's for sure.
Are you healthy?
Am I healthy? I don't know. Maybe in some areas. I don't know.
That's okay. You don't have to know.
I mean, I'm definitely less angry than I was as a child.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe a big thing is I think in my late teens, early 20s, I had I was probably way more in my, what's the sloth. I was probably way more in that kind of phase, I don't know, mindset. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I didn't really have any drive. I was just content, just existing, I guess. And I had fun and golfed every day. And I worked. I was in the military, so I didn't golf every day. But every day before work, I'd go golf or, just hang out with my friends. I didn't really have any drive to do anything. And I think as a 9, it could be easy just to go with the flow and kind of let your life just I'm just hanging out, I'm fine. But I think as I've gotten older, I've found getting married and stuff has helped because she helps me have a reason to do stuff, I guess. But
Aww.
finishing school and all that kind of stuff. So I have more drive now.
Good.
And want to do more with my life than just work a job I really don't like and have fun.
Well, it's good to hear. I mean, then I would say, yeah, your age has influenced you, but in a way of positivity, not, giving into your sloth so much. So that's good. Okay, last question. We're already here at my last question. So, how has the Enneagram helped you with relationships and living life? I like to ask everybody this question. I just like to know how the Enneagram has helped you, basically. All right, Mary, you can go first.
Okay. I think I've already mentioned that it has helped me accept myself so much, because I struggled with that my whole life. And so it does help me to accept who I am and who God has made me to be. And I can even see reasons why. He knew ahead of time what kind of life I was going to have and the challenges that I was going to face. And then I think, isn't it so nice he made me a 9? Because I think that I needed that kind of personality for some of the challenges that I've had. But it also really, really helps me to understand other people and to love them and to be more understanding with other people, because since I have that ability to understand all points of view, sometimes I can't understand people that aren't like that. I will just be so frustrated. Why is he so strong about this particular thing and argumentative and whatever it might be. But now I can say, oh, well, maybe he's an 8, or maybe he's a 6, or maybe somebody else that's behaving a certain way. And I know you can't diagnose what other people are, but I mean, it just opens up to you understanding why everybody else is not like you. And so that has been very helpful. And it's helped me, of course, in my marriage, because my husband is a 1. He's a very strong 1. And of course, I have the wing 1. But so many things, once I understood what a 1 was, I could look back over our entire marriage and I could see why he behaved a certain way. And it just really does help in our relationship. So I think it helps both in accepting myself, but also accepting others.
I really love that. That's awesome. Okay, Brandon, how has the Enneagram helped you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of the same, really. It's trying to think of something else like different to add to it. I mean, really, it is just, I think I even said that at the beginning a little bit, like understanding other people and why they think the way they do, or not necessarily why, but just like that it's okay that they think the way they do, and not everyone's going to think like me and go with the flow like me, or and obviously in marriage it's understanding why a 7 is a 7, and or why a 7 is a 7, and what I can do to help, like in your areas that you need help in, and what you can do to help in my areas that I need help in. And yeah,
I actually have a final question. So there are many times in my life that I think, oh, I wish I had known about the Enneagram when I was, in college, or if I had known about it when I went through this situation, or it would have helped me accept myself, blah, 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 blah. So for both of you, and obviously Mama, you do have a longer period of your life that you didn't know about the Enneagram. But is there a time in your life that you really wish you had known about the Enneagram, or like a situation that you think like, oh, this would have been such a helpful tool at, insert age group or situation or something like that for either of you?
I want to jump in and let them think, because I want to answer this question as a 5. And so I'll let them think while I answer this question, because I've thought about this a bunch. I wish that I knew I was a 5 when I was a teenager, because that was the period of time where I had the most strife with my parents, and like not understanding them, not understanding me. My mom was a 2, extremely different from me. And that is when we butt heads the most, was when I was a teenager. And you ask my sister, we had screaming matches. Like, we really did not understand each other. And I wish that I knew about the Enneagram at that time, because when I was a teenager, it's formative years, like it's like a time in my life where I had friends, and there was so much going on. And when you're a teenager, everything feels like the end of the world. And so it was just high emotion. And I just really wish I knew myself better when I was a teenager, because I look back at that time and regret all that strife that I created because I just didn't know who I was. So that's my answer for that. I just want to jump in, answer that.
Yeah.
Okay. Who do you want to go first?
Whoever has something to say.
Brandon, do you have something to say?
not at the moment. It's still
okay. Well, I think I've been sitting here thinking, and a 9 has a lot of trouble narrowing something down. But so rather than like a period of life, maybe I would say a certain aspect of my life is that seriously, probably all of my life, teenage years, and then especially when I got married and on through, I just always felt so bad about myself. I just really did. I had a really poor self-image. And what changed that, I like to think it was my relationship with the Lord, year after year after year after year. And it was also life. It was blood, sweat, and tears. And I'm from a generation, I've never had therapy. I've never gone for counseling. Life has counseled me. And I have just duked it out. And lo and behold, after facing many, many, many challenges and, you know, praying and praying and all that, I did finally gain some confidence and feel like I wasn't a bad person or just a weak person. I think I always thought I was just a really weak person, and I didn't respect myself maybe. And then finally, I worked through all those things. I built that all up. And I think that was my relationship with God. But then I learned about the Enneagram, and had I understood when I was like 21 that how my personality really was, and that the way I was okay. Now, that doesn't mean I'm without sin. Of course, I've had to deal with my sin all through my life and confess and learn and grow. And that's what everybody has to do. But I just think the Enneagram would have helped me amazingly in the way I accepted myself. And I think I could have been a more confident person if I just could rest and if I could function as a 9 instead of struggle with being a 9 when I didn't even know what that was. So that's my answer.
So good. So good.
Okay, you got to land this plane.
Poor Brandon.
I was just gonna say that I don't know. I guess, I mean, I don't know. I always knew that I didn't have a lot of like opinions about where we should go eat and all that kind of stuff, the typical 9 stuff. But I didn't know why I didn't care, but I think it kind of helped me understand myself as well. And so, because I don't know, I feel like a lot of it is just like a energy thing for me. Like if it's something that's worth putting the energy in to like be like, no, I want to go here, or if it's not. But it also kind of goes with the conflict thing. So I don't know. I guess I helped me to understand that other people have that too. I don't know.
own who you were.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. That sounds good.
Grace, I'm curious as your answer, because I haven't ever heard if like when you wish you had learned about the Enneagram.
I mean, I kind of feel like my answer is similar to my mom's. Like it's a lot of points. I was such a fearful child, and I don't think I would have really accepted the Enneagram very much as a kid, so I don't even really want to go there. But I had the same thing as you, being a teenager and just being angry and feisty and snappy. And, I really wish that I had understood my mom really. Almost known the Enneagram to understand my mom even more than myself. But then like through college and post-college, I went through a whole lot of changes because I kind of started to get self-confidence like my mom was talking about and started to do like brave stuff and face fears, but I didn't really understand why I was doing some of those things. Mm-hmm. And I think I really was like stepping in to who I was. But I think having the Enneagram back then would have helped me understand why I was having these desires to try new things and own joyfulness and pursuing fun and things like that. So yeah, I wish I had known about it since I was a wee babe. I would have been such a fabulous person.
All right. Well, I really appreciate you guys being on our podcast and being open and honest and answering all my questions so that we can understand the generations better and Enneagram better. So yeah, a huge thank you to both of you.
Well, thank you. I have really enjoyed it.
Oh, good.
It was fun.
And you guys got to be here for our season 2 finale. Which
Yes.
That is very exciting.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to sign off now and say adios.
Yes. And we will see you guys all in a few weeks or hear you all or whatever. So goodbye, everybody.